Hello, hello, hello. I am Victoria Seed, and I am coming to you live from the Vesta Approach in Manchester. And I help women all over the world who are affected by a loved one's problem, alcohol, or drug use. And I do this work by teaching my clients, by mentoring them and teaching them the best strategies to cope with a loved one's addiction, and also the best strategies to motivate a loved one to make a change. And I can help you too. So every Friday, I come and do a session on here on my socials for free, so that I can teach you some of the things that I work through with my clients. Obviously, not quite as in much detail, but hopefully, you will take something away from this. And at this time of year, we all need to be setting some Christmas boundaries. So, the title of the workshop today is How to Set Your Christmas Boundaries Around Your Loved One's Addiction. So, I've chosen those words carefully because actually our boundaries need to really be around us. Um, but obviously the issue, the elephant in the room is the drug or the alcohol. So we're going to involve the alcohol or the drug in that as well. But we cannot put boundaries around somebody else, another person. So think about that while we talk about the strategies today. Um, Now I have a free group, so if you are not already in there, I really urge you to come and join the free community, Not My Addiction. This is a fabulous community for professional business and retired women who are living with a loved one's addiction and want to change their lives so that they're living their most happy and peaceful lives. And that's what I want for you too. So come over and join that community because that's free. You don't have to pay anything. It's great. It's lovely. It's really engaged. Just come and join us. Come in. You're not on your own. So let's get going with this then. The first point I want to talk about today is that, like I've already said, you've got to set your boundaries around you, not around them. Really important thing to remember, because even when I'm working with my clients one to one, I can hear them saying, when we're practicing a boundary, I can hear them saying, well, what you need to do this, or I feel, because we talk about using I statements, which I'll get to, but it can be I feel because you. And it's like, okay, we can say you, it's not a banned word, but we need to focus a boundary around us. Okay, so we'll get to that. The second thing to think about is that make sure you're setting boundaries that you can follow through, because there's no point setting a boundary. I've just been talking about this morning. So if this person is watching, it's about you, but it's a really common theme. So it's not personal. Money. So we might be providing money for somebody. Now, if you say, I can't give you any money anymore, but you don't follow that through, you're going to give a really mixed, confusing message. Now, when we start giving money to someone, that can feel like a really scary thing to do. But actually, you're doing that out of love, kindness, care, and compassion. Because if you're giving that person money, they've got a drug problem or an alcohol problem. You might not know what drug is, you might not know it's alcohol, you might not know any of it. Um, or you might know a limited amount, but you can guarantee if you're providing money, then it's going on the substance. So therefore, we've got to cut off that supply. But if you're saying you're not going to give someone money and then you give them money, the whole thing is counterproductive. So whatever boundary you're going to set. So can you hear that? I am not going to provide money. That's a boundary around you. Okay, so nobody can argue with that, but you've got to stick to it. That's the message here. Okay. The third thing is make a list of what you want around you and focus on one thing at a time. So if you want your loved one to stop giving you money, just write that down. That's fine. Yeah. You wouldn't, you'd reframe it and say, I can't give you money. But the purpose is you're not going to give your loved one money, right? So it's still the same thing. It's just the way that we communicate it. If your boundary is that actually at Christmas, I don't want drinking around me, that's your boundary. So it might lead on to a further conversation like, well, for the last 17 Christmases, you know, there's been you have been heavily intoxicated. It's impacted on our enjoyment at Christmas. It's impacted on me. So this year, I don't want that to happen. So how are we going to get to that? How can you help me with this? So that's the conversation. If they choose to go and use their substance or use their drink, like what are you going to ask them to do? Because you've got to think this through. So if you don't want your loved one to use the substance at Christmas, you're not going to say that. You're going to say, I don't want it around me. But then how are you going to get to that? And what are you going to do if they do use a substance? So it might be that if you do use that substance, then what I need is for you to do that out of the house, or to go to the spare room, or to just avoid doing that until we've had dinner, because I don't want the children upset. And if you don't feel like you can do that, then make other arrangements, whatever it is. And these are big boundaries, these are big things. But if you really want your life to change, you do need to name what you want and what you need, and you need to repeat it. Because trust me, it will need repeating. So the fourth thing is communicate using I statements. So this is a really simple strategy. If you watch these videos regularly, you've heard me talking about this a lot. I statements are a really, really simple way of communicating what you need. So all it is I feel upset when you're intoxicated at Christmas. And what I really need is for that not to happen this year. So how can we make that happen? And that's it. So I feel when what I need is. That is it. You do not have to have a 2-hour in-depth conversation. You just need to tell them what you need, and you need to get used to asking for what you need. Because trust me, hardly anyone I know, and not just people who are living with somebody else's addiction, hardly anyone I know is able to set boundaries. I am like the boundary queen. I set boundaries all the time. So what once you start doing it, you can start saying no to things. You can start asking people for what you need. You gotta give and take. Obviously, there's got to be a compromise. But with some of this stuff, there might not be a compromise. So I feel when in future I would like it if, or this Christmas I would like it if, and that's it. Okay, so write it down, put it in your notes on your phone, write it down on a post-it, practice it before you say it, and that's it. That's it. And you're gonna have to readdress it as well, because well, you don't have to do anything I say actually, so I shouldn't say that, but I would probably guarantee that you will need to readdress it with your loved one, because saying it once and thinking, all right, that's it done, usually isn't the case, especially with somebody that's got problems with alcohol and drugs. Okay. And while you're doing this, while you're setting these boundaries, there's absolutely no harm. And I would really encourage you to do it, to say, listen, if you need help with your drinking or your drug use, now's the time. You know, we've got some help and support available. And you can grab that help and support, by the way, on my freebie, because you can download that. It's got my top 10 tips for family recovery, and it's also got recommended providers that I recommend as well. Okay, so where are we? Number 5 is understand that when you interfere with your loved one's drinking and drug use, you might get a negative reaction. That's normal. So that, which I learned from Phil Harris, wonderful guy, great model. An extinction burst is where you interfere with somebody's substance use and you might get a negative reaction. So when you get that reaction, what's really important is that you just have a little think about what reactions you've had in the past. All right. So the next thing, number 6, is that your loved one may respond with temptations that they might change. So it might be, okay, yeah, yeah, I'm going to change. I'm going to change. Don't worry. No, we don't need any of this. Think about how often they followed that through. We want to be seeing action, not words. Okay. Or threats that they might do something. Well, if you do that, if you stop my money, then I'm going to get into trouble with this person, this drug dealer. Well, you know, well, what's the alternative? That you keep providing money and this drug dealer, which may or may not be true, it may be, and people can have very, very dangerous people after them. I'm not going to lie, but what is the alternative? So we have a full and frank conversation about where your debts are up to, and then we are going to help you get out of that. Could be one option there. All right. So, or you might within your own boundaries agree to pay something off, but that's it. But you've got to stick with the boundary. All right. So just bear in mind that those temptations and threats, again, Phil Harris taught me this, these are ways that your loved one manipulates you so that you can't interfere with the addiction or that you back off a bit. So stick with it because this is really normal. All right. So if you're doing that, it means that is working. So you need to be assertive. You need to ask for what you want. You need to stick with it. Come over in the group and let me know how you are doing. If you search Not My Addiction in the Facebook search, it will bring you to that, or you can look, you can get the link here. I'm going to go. We've gone over a little bit. I will see you next week. Drop your comments, thoughts, feelings, reflections in, or feel free to DM me for help.